Welcome to Word of Mouth.
Welcome back.
It's wonderful to have you here, whoever you are.
WONDERFUL. To have YOU.
That's what I was thinking. Welcome back, Steven. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for, I'm almost as much as a guest today.
We have a friend with us, a new friend. We've been chit-chatting.
New friend alert.
Who are you, man, sitting on the couch between us?
I'm Kevin Mclean.
What's up, Kevin?
What's up, guys?
Kevin Mclean. Let's
Well,
go.
you look cool. You have cool clothes on. What do you do?
Wait,
I'm a sculptor.
sculptor?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Hardly know her.
So, if you want to play a little game with us also as we're introing Kevin, you can watch the podcast right now and look at him, and then you take a guess, how old is he? And then at the end of the episode, we'll tell you how old he is.
We have to remember to do that in an hour and a half.
And we're definitely not.
Well, Kevin, sculpting. That's really cool. I've never met a sculptor before. I've never
How many
talked to
people do
someone.
you think exist in the world that answer sculptor whenever you ask them, hey, what do you do for a living?
I don't know. I don't think I know many, I guess. I think most people will just say artist.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel weird about that word for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you a sculptor?
I don't, I think I just like making stuff, like building things, working with my hands. And I think art just kind of sculpture just sort of became the vehicle for that. I'm not really I don't consider myself a super creative person. I've never really been confident in that part of what I do, but I am pretty confident with like building things and working with my hands. But I could have probably just as easily become like a guy that makes furniture or something.
Yeah.
It just happened to be art.
Yeah. So how did you find sculpting? If you're like me, you're young and think the world's your oyster and you're invincible and you can conquer the world, and that's all true until you have a health problem. And then you're in the doctor's office and you're taking medicine until that health problem goes away. Don't let that health problem be skin cancer. It's extremely preventable and treatable if you catch it early. May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month. Now you're aware. I was talking with my friends at Total Dermatology recently and learned that 1 in 5 Americans will actually develop skin cancer throughout their life, which is crazy. That's so many people. But like I said, it's extremely treatable if you catch it early. So they recommend you start like in your 20s, just going once a year to get checkups done. They take most insurances and they have same week availability. Their office in Birmingham, downtown Birmingham in particular, is really cool. They have offices all over town. Reach out to them. Click the link in the description below or give them a call and get your skin checked. It's simple. It's easy. They're great people there. Go check them out. Now it's back to Mr. Kevin Mclean.
I guess college. Because I did a lot of drawing. I think a lot of people draw a lot when they're kids. But I never like considered it as like a viable career option. It was just something I did, and my parents told me I was good at it, so I kept doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I took a sculpture class when I got to college because I didn't really know how the college application process worked, and didn't really put any thought into it. I was just like, well, probably somewhere in state, because I had an in-state scholarship and I wasn't gonna be able to afford to go out of state. And then the 3 options in South Carolina, the 3 big ones at least that I knew about, were at Clemson, University of South Carolina, and Charleston. And Charleston was in Charleston, and I knew that was a cool city, and I'd been to Clemson, and it was pretty lame, so I was like, all right, I'm going to go to college for Charleston. Didn't really apply anywhere else.
Yeah.
Got in there, didn't know what I was going to do, went to my advisor and was trying to figure it out. I was like, maybe engineering, and we don't have that here. I was like, what do you mean? I thought all colleges have it. No, you should have gone to Clemson. I was like, fuck, no one told me that.
Clemson was boring. It didn't look cool there.
Well, what about architecture? We don't have that either. Do you know what we have here?
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah, and I think I did psychology for one day. And I got out of the class. I was like, I'm not doing that. That was really lame too. And I ended up just doing classics. I don't know how I found that, but that was interesting. It was Greek and Roman mythology and civilization and stuff. And when we were studying the art, the sculptures are really cool. And I was like, okay, well, they've got to have sculpture here. And so I took a sculpture class, and just as soon as I walked into the studio, fell in love. Like the smells and like just the whole vibe in there of like rust and dust everywhere, and just like the smell of welding. I was like, I'm gonna do this. Like, this is awesome. And switched majors like a year later.
So do they have like a sculpting major, or was it like contemporary art?
It's technically an art major, but you can I guess not focus, but specialize in, a variety of different things. And I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to specialize for a while. So I was kind of splitting my time between drawing, painting, and sculpture. And technically my degree is in like concentration in drawing.
Okay.
But I spent more time in the sculpture department, and I was closer with like all of the professors there. And it was really cool because it was a small program. Like the school only has, I think, had 13,000 kids there when I was there. And the art department at one point had a lot of funding. Like they had some big names that were teaching there, like in the 80s. They didn't have really any funding by the time I got there, but they had a lot of like remnants from that. So the facilities were just top tier stuff.
Yeah.
And because it was a small program, I was able to get a lot of one-on-one time with the professors that I probably wouldn't have got if I went to a bigger school, and just got to kind of try out anything I wanted to, even if they didn't have courses available. Like the professors were just super into everything, and so like we got to pour bronze. They used to have a course on it, and they had everything required. Like they used to come to Sloss and get materials and then drive them back up. But
that's crazy.
There was some sort of accident in the 90s, and like insurance wouldn't let them teach the class anymore, and then like they didn't have the funding for it, but they still had the foundry. And I was super interested in making molds, and one of the I guess the studio manager kind of pulled me in this other guy's side, and he was like, if y'all come in like later tonight, like 8 p.m., like don't talk about it, but we can.
Yeah, this may or may not have happened.
Yeah, exactly. And
I was going to say statute of limitations is probably gone by now.
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't think he works there anymore. But, and so for like a couple of months, we would just go in there at nighttime, and he would show us how to pour bronze.
Wow.
And like, there's no way I would have got that at a different school.
That's amazing.
It was luck, and it was super cool.
Yeah. What was your family's response, like your parents' response
Pretty
to you
good,
doing
honestly.
this?
What
do your parents do?
My dad worked for a company called Schumacher, and they make like fabrics and stuff, but he worked in logistics, and he started there, I guess, in the late 70s, 80s, like in the warehouse. And it was back when you could just like actually work your way up in a company, and like had an office job. And then my mom was an English teacher, like a middle school English teacher. But my mom was the first person in her family to go to college, and she was in school for like engineering or something like that, or maybe architecture, one of the two things that I did want to do. Yeah. And she didn't like it, and so she switched to English. And like I think that her family wasn't super excited about that, because they were like, she was supposed to be the one that was gonna like
women in STEM.
Yeah, and she was like, I don't like that, I want to do English. And so her in particular was like, she was not gonna try and make me do something that I didn't want to do. And my dad, he was always an athlete, and so he was always getting injured, and like had to see a lot of like sports medicine guys. Yeah. And he was convinced that I should be like an orthopedic surgeon. He was like, that's what you should do when you go to college. I was like, I don't know. He was like, it's similar to like, all the carpentry projects we do when you're growing up, like building the tree house and the swing set. And so you're just putting stuff together. I was like, I feel like it's probably harder.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that.
I remember reading about it, and like the things that you should be if you want to like go into that field, and I didn't hit any of them. Like, I don't think this is for me. Like, I don't think medicine is in my future.
Your dad's like, it's just Legos, but like flesh.
Yeah, he's like, you like Legos, right? And I was like, yeah, but like it's not blood and stuff. People could die if I mess up.
That's hilarious.
But he was pretty supportive. I think it helped that like it was in state, and I had like a full just academic ride, so it wasn't like there was any like money on the table.
Yeah.
I was gonna just be blowing by like getting an art degree. And I got lucky and like found some success pretty early on with like galleries and stuff while I was in school. Again, a small program. Like anytime businesses wanted to get something done like on the cheap, they would come to the college and be like, can you recommend somebody to do this for like this price? And then they would just like be like, hey, we're offering this. And it's like a criminally low amounts of money, but it's still money. And like when you're starting out, you're just excited that someone wants to give you money to do art. Like, really? Like, you'll pay me to do this? Yeah. And like, even though it's, you know, like,
even though it's like $200 or whatever, it's like a $10 barely covers job. Your costs, whatever.
I actually had a company, there was these 18th century marble statues in front of this apartment building downtown in Charleston, and someone vandalized one, like tied a rope around it with their truck and like pulled the head off of it. And so they're like, we need to move these inside. We want someone to make copies of them. And they got me to do it. And I think I charged $1,000, and this ended up being like a 60-hour project. Probably spent $600 on materials. Yeah. That was definitely a learning experience for me. And 2 years later, they emailed me like, hey, a reporter might reach out to you soon. Do not tell them how much we paid you.
Yeah, literally.
I was like, oh, is that just confirmed?
Like, now I'm going to tell him. Now I'm going to tell him this too.
Yeah, that just confirms we actually stole.
Yeah,
you're like, if you pay me $5,000 more now,
the rent there was probably like $4,000 a month. Like, I don't know how they thought they could get away. I mean, they did. That's why
they did get away with it.
They got away with it.
Yeah. So what does that look like when you graduate? Like, is there a path kind of laid out since you go through the college route, or is it still kind of just as ambiguous, like trying to figure out how to make a living doing that?
No, I mean, it didn't change anything. I realized that like halfway into the program that we were not learning like how to make a living. And actually that same guy that showed me how to pour bronze, he was a really great like mentor, because he also taught a class. And I remember the first day of class, he asked everybody, it's like, raise your hand if you want to be a professional artist when you like graduate. And, you know, most people raise their hands. And he was like, maybe one. The rest of you are going to end up being servers, but I'm going to show you how to like do carpentry and stonemasonry and welding so you can like actually make money.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you're not going to be an artist.
Wow.
And like a lot of people didn't like that, but I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like,
that's
I'm
actually
here
real.
to like learn how to do cool stuff.
Yeah.
But I took some like business and finance classes because I figured that would be important going forward. And I think that's true for a lot of industries. It's not just art. Like even like engineering or something like that. Like they're not gonna.
Yeah, I think that it's changing in college now. But like you should have to take like at least basic personal finance classes, if not like one accounting class, just to have an understanding of how money flows.
It's definitely helpful. I mean, I'm not saying I still don't make like extremely stupid financial decisions.
But you at least need to know how it works.
Yeah, I know they're dumb.
Yeah.
But that helped. I mean, that was something I think we talked about a little bit earlier before this started. But when I moved down here with my college girlfriend, she got into a medical scientist program here, and so I didn't know anybody when I moved here. I didn't know anything about Alabama. The little I did know was not good. Like, especially Birmingham. I was like,
Yeah.
And I mean, I love Birmingham. Like, I'm so glad I'm here now. It's my the favorite place I've lived in. But it was just kind of like a shock. And all my friends were medical students, and we also discussed how like I'm not cut out for anything like that. It's extremely difficult. But the thing I was always envious of was that they had a path. It's really hard, but like they knew what they had to do to get where they wanted to go. There's a clear goal and like a clear steps on how to get there. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm just like in the basement painting dogs, doing dog portraits, and like working as a wheelchair mechanic from a Craigslist job listing. And I didn't even really know what the idea of success for me was. So nebulous. I was like, I don't even know what I want to do, let alone how to get there. Yeah. And that took a while to sort of figure out, and it's kind of something that just sort of happened as I went. I learned more and more what I didn't want to do, and then...
Yeah, weirdly, I think in any ambiguous career, you learn more what you don't want to do than what you actually do. Sure, yeah. Like, I feel like I've wrestled with that my whole life, because I'm like, I have general ideas of like how I'd like my life to look, you know? Like I'd want to be married, have kids, spend a lot of time with my kids. I'd like to make enough money to like mess around and play with cars, and I want to live in like a cool kind of old house.
Yeah.
And like that's about all I got. And like as far as my job, it's like I really like people, and I like thinking about and trying to solve problems. Like, I don't know. Yeah. It's like, or I don't, again, like that's pretty much as far as I've gotten. And it's 26 years old now. I haven't really gotten much further. But like,
could you imagine like if you logged into like Canvas or CampusNet or whatever? I don't know. Back in the day, there's your number one hint on the age guessing game.
Yeah.
Back in the day, whenever Kev was in school, like I don't know, the email or something, letters. But
how old
like,
is
you like
Kevin?
logged in on a Tuesday morning, and it was like assignments were like text your mom, or like the like 10 points on your final grade, or like the next assignment would be like make sure your emails are checked, like. But that's just not how the world works at all, you know? It's like, especially when it comes to people. I feel like that's one of the things that I probably get the most envious about medical people, or like essentially jobs that AI can't take. Like, I don't know, medical people or
plumbing, HVAC,
like, they don't have to deal with people because they know that like a plumber, like their knowledge is what you want. So you literally... I'm like borderline treating a plumber like a king when they're at my house because I'm like, please just get it done.
Please help me, save
leave.
me,
like please
save
just
me
get
from
it done
this
and leave.
poop.
Yeah, and they'll come in there. I literally had a plumber come in one time and replace a valve that's like 4 inches long in a non-septic line, just a clean water line, and it was $680. And it took them actually 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not real, but. Anyways, I just think it would be so funny if you could just like roll up and like see a workbook on like what to do with your life. I never thought about that too. You just said that out of medicine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's okay. So talk to us about that. Like you said your wheelchair Craigslist job, and you're just sitting in Birmingham. And like what year is this in Birmingham? Like
that's also going to age me the Craigslist. It used to be a huge part of my life.
Seriously.
Yeah, no, I used to make a lot of money on Craigslist.
Yeah, seriously, bro. Before Craigslist got super creepy.
Yeah.
But
it was still creepy then. But.
Like what like era of Birmingham are we talking? That's why I'm asking. Like,
I moved here in 2014.
Okay.
2015.
So like
make it easier
very
for people
beginning of the renaissance, if you will, of downtown. Like was 2012.
Yeah, things were changing, and people told me that they had been changing, and since I've been here, it has changed a lot.
Different place.
Yeah. Even in the past like 2 years. Me and somebody were talking about that yesterday. Like it's crazy.
So how did you make money when you first got here?
Working at the wheelchair shop and selling dog portraits. So I kind of not reverted, but after I graduated.
Like his dog portrait, is that a joke or are you being serious? You were taking drawing portraits of people's dogs.
Business. Well, I mean, not what I was charging, but like there's a high demand for dog portraits. People love their dogs.
That is hilarious.
I like dogs,
especially rich cool. people.
Yeah,
that's who buys art. That's
fair.
Poor people don't buy art.
Yeah,
so I didn't have access to like all of the tools and like facilities to do sculpture once I graduated.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of worked out a deal with my professors after I graduated where I could like come in on the weekends and like clean up, and then they would let me come in during the night to like use the equipment.
Oh, cool.
And I was working at this place called the Urban Electric Company, which they make like luxury light fixtures and lanterns. Cool. Super high-end stuff, and it's pretty much all handmade. And they were hiring people out of the sculpture department because the skill set like was applied pretty well to what they were doing.
Yeah.
And so that actually paid really well. But then when I moved down here, I had like 2 weeks worth of savings basically. Because I was making like good money at this factory, and I was like, "Oh, I'm rich now." I'm like not setting anything aside, just until I was like, "Oh wait, we're moving to Birmingham."
Yeah.
Because I thought we were gonna stay in Charleston, so I moved down here, and then I was like, "All right, well, I guess I'll start painting." Because I was painting in college, I did like painting, and I got pretty good at it. but I also didn't really know exactly what I was doing. Like we learned, sculpture was a lot different than painting, where like in sculpture we learned like actual skills, like how to fabricate things and like build things. And in painting we learned about painting and like color theory and that type of thing, but there wasn't like a classical training program where like
it's a lot more theoretical, basically.
It's a lot more theoretical, and like we did a lot of stuff from life, but it was one of those things where I had a pretty good eye. I don't think my hand was quite where my eye was, but so it was mainly just a lot of like messing around until it looked right.
Yeah.
So it took a long time to do those portraits, and I wasn't charging nearly enough, and it was not like something that could be a full, like that couldn't be my primary source of income, so I had side jobs a lot. And the first one was working as a wheelchair mechanic.
Wow.
Which was, I built bikes in Charleston for a while.
Like bicycles?
Both. I built
motorcycles?
Bicycles, and then I would put little like engines on bicycles.
That's cool.
And sell those too.
Yeah.
Those were
That's
death
fun.
traps.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I would get bikes from the police auction that were in like questionable shape, and then sometimes I would go to find other bikes and take parts off of them to fix my
You'd
bikes.
find.
I had to do that. How many years it's been to make sure that I can.
That's hilarious.
And then I kind of like had an informal bike repair business, and I had to stop. It wasn't a sustainable business practice because I was sourcing parts from other people's bikes. And I remember this girl came in and her bike, she was like, I don't know what's wrong. The seat keeps sliding down.
And you had stolen it off?
I had stolen the seat clamp to fix someone else's bike. Yeah. I was like, that's weird. I think I just have to find a seat clamp.
I don't know. I mean, that sounds pretty sustainable to
like,
me.
How
You
did
like
this happen? I
you
was like,
create
I don't know.
the
Were you
problem.
riding it really hard or something? Like, I think it's done something.
I mean, I think the business model works because you create the problem and then you also provide the solution.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's like you're doing both at the same time.
I think there was a lot of things I did in college where they seemed like good ideas, and then very quickly got into a gray area, and then I would start getting like kind of scared that I was going to get in trouble and like have to sort of transition out of that.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, wheelchairs are very similar to bikes. Then we did some like specialty stuff that was like very new to me, like electronics and like things you could control by like
I've never thought about that.
Thing, or like using your eye movements to like control a wheelchair. But that was pretty cool to work on those.
That is crazy.
Wheelchairs are just pretty much bikes.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
They're bi-cycle, they're two.
I guess there's not really a cycle mechanism, but
Your hands,
there's the bi part.
Those things are cool. I used to play around in those. Like, there's some nice ones that would come through there. I could do wheelies on.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, but you could do like the cool tricks and like spin around
I
on
was
just two
reflecting
wheels.
this past week on there was this like our fraternity, me and Myers fraternity in college. Whenever we were pledges, that we had to sit in a wheelchair. Somebody in our pledge class had to sit in a wheelchair every hour for 7 straight days.
Yeah.
So like I literally slept in the quad of Sanford University in a wheelchair, like on my back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking about that this past
Okay,
week.
so you found a way to do art and still make money doing art. I mean, have you always been able to kind of finagle that? Because I know, I mean, part of the path of an artist, I feel like always is like, how do I do enough art to start making money and start building like a portfolio and get some opportunities, but I also like have to probably do something else on the side to like make money, you know?
Yeah. And I think, at least for me, I made the mistake like 3 times at least where I just was like, all right, I'm here now. Like you get like 2 or 3 months, like good months in a row where you're making like more than you are at your side job. You think you've made it, quit your job, and then like the next 6 months you're not selling anything.
Yeah.
And so then you have to like go back to it, and it's just.
Is the model for a sculptor basically just to become like a fine artist who sells their art, or are there people who like, are there like resident sculptors at different like museums or like companies, or like what's kind of the?
There might be. I don't know. I didn't. If there, I kind of took. I didn't really take like an academic fine art route with what I do. I think because the way I started making money was pretty early on. I did not know what was happening. Like I just no. They don't tell you like how to navigate the like business side of being an artist, and it actually I was working at Piggly Wiggly, a corporate Piggly Wiggly in Charleston. It's a lot different than the one you got here, and it's much nicer. And these are franchise ones; they're not the same.
Right.
But I was a cashier, and there was a regular that would come through there, and we got to talking one day, and he asked me what I was majoring in, and I told him art, and he was like, "Well, I have a gallery downtown. You should stop by and like bring some of your stuff." And I went down there, and the stuff I was doing was not marketable. I was like a lot of like violent, like like just sort of dark stuff that no one was ever going to put in their house. But he was like, "What if you did shrimp boats?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Those would sell." And I was like, "Okay." And that was sort of my first like exposure towards what a lot of people refer to derogatorily as like selling out. But it was kind of awesome because I could like buy name brand groceries and not feel guilty about it after that. Like I was like bringing in just as much money doing that as I was being a cashier, which 40 hours a week as a cashier versus like 10 hours doing shrimp boat paintings. Yeah. And they got pretty easy. Like you do a bunch of them and they did sell really well. They were small and they were priced to sell. But I also was in over my head, didn't know what I was doing. And like he sold a couple of my pieces without telling me and I confronted him about it. And he was like, "Oh, I don't have the money." And so that was my first exposure to getting burned also in the art industry. Yeah. So like I started getting jaded pretty early on. And I also started like associating the craft that I was doing with like money and like monetizing it. And I think that's a different route than like going like a more academic way where you're doing art for art's sake and then kind of like building upon that. And so I kind of balanced it for a while while I was in college, and then I got out and it sort of just like became like, all right, how can I eat?
Right.
Pay rent? Like what is this going to sell?
Yeah.
Type thing. But I do think you got to have a balance of like doing stuff just for the sake of art and then doing stuff that you can pay the bills with.
Yeah. So do you make a living doing art now?
Yeah. And luckily I've gotten to a point where I'm doing stuff that I like and that can also sell, but it also makes it difficult to branch out from that. Cause I've found a niche that sells really well and I like doing it. So now it's like when I go in the studio, I'm like, anytime I think about doing something else, it's like, I don't know, that might not do well, or like I might be bad at that. Like I'm good at this sells, I'm going to keep doing this. Especially because like 9 times out of 10, you try something new and it just doesn't work out. Like, it looks bad. Everybody else thinks it looks bad. Or sometimes you think it looks great. No one else likes it. And you're like, well, man, I just wasted so much time doing that. And like you get no like confirmation that it was a good job. And so that kind of also discourages you from trying new things. But I think that's really important, or else things will get kind of stale. And so the way I've been able to keep it interesting is I'm still doing like the same format, but I'm doing different finishes on them, because that's what's really interesting to me, is like just making things look different. And like part of that was from working at the Urban Electric Company. I was in the finishing department, so we were doing wet patinas, nickel plating, powder coating, all that kind of stuff. And it was very strict quality control. So like if you messed up, you didn't get in trouble, but they were just like, just start over. Yeah. Do it again. It was like a really high focus on that. And I just kind of grew, my mind just started like working in that direction of like, just, I don't know, really like picking up on like subtle interplay between textures and sheens and colors and stuff like that. And so that's kind of how I keep it interesting, is where multiple times a year I'll try and release a new finish or like surface treatment.
How did you get access to like the means to sculpt here? Like, did you is there a studio around here you can like rent, or?
I've somehow been able to have my own studio since I was in college. I lived in like a really shitty part of town, and was able to get a very cheap house, and there was like a little 10 by 10 room in there, and it was cheap enough where I could sublet one of the 3 rooms and I could have the other 2 for myself. Yeah. And that was my first studio. I actually found a picture of it yesterday, and it looks rough. It is very condensed. And then I've just had like garage or basement studios everywhere else that I've lived. I had a spot at the warehouse there, but There's some sculpture that you don't need a whole lot for, and my primary medium right now is plaster, and that's it's just like concrete. Basically, you just mix dry stuff with wet stuff and then sculpt it. It is messy. A lot of sculpture stuff is messy.
Yeah.
But some stuff can cost a lot more than other stuff, like the tools you need. But I think it's the same with painting. You can do painting on the cheap, and you can also spend thousands of dollars on materials and equipment. And I sort of just like, I've been doing it so long that I just kind of accumulate year after year, get more and more stuff and like investment pieces. To where pretty much everything I own now is sculpture related.
Yeah. How do you know when a piece is done?
Sometimes after you've already ruined it, I guess. I don't know. I think that's
can you like a painting you can paint over something and like kind of redo it a little bit? Can you do that in sculpting, or are you pretty like set when you
some
do
stuff
something?
You can kind of recycle. Usually what happens when I am working on a piece and I can tell that it's not really salvageable, I'll use that as like an experimental piece where I can just like do stuff to it and not worry if it fails miserably, because it's already like not gonna be good. It is one of those things, I think the more you do something, the better feel you get for it. Like once you've messed up enough times, you kind of pick up on the signs that tell you that it's gonna be bad if you keep going, and like when to stop. So I think just like doing it a bunch is how you kind of are able to figure out when it's going to be a good time to stop.
Yeah.
If I'm doing something and it looks good, I usually will just stop.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to overwork something, especially if it's already good. You start overworking it, and then you start second guessing what you're doing. You're like, oh no, it was better before, and then you start like panicking and like trying to make it better, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. So,
do you think there's a good community of artists here in Birmingham? And did you you seem to have gotten involved in that community?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know anybody when I moved here. I had a really close-knit community in Charleston. I still keep up with some of them, but it wasn't until I started working at Alabama Art Supply when I guess I'd been here for like 2 years, and then I started meeting like other artists. So that was huge for me. Not only that, but like being around them, and we were all in like different points in our lives, but it was fun like being around people that had a similar sort of like path to me, as in we didn't know what we were doing.
Figuring it out as you go.
Yeah, exactly. But like we had things we could talk about that you couldn't talk. Like I liked all my medical student friends; they were cool, but we had vastly different lives. And you know, there's always a certain point in the conversation where the vocabulary just didn't line up.
Right.
And so working with other artists was great because pretty much all the employees there were also artists. And then you also, and this was huge, was meeting the rest of the art community, because you had anywhere from like students to hobbyists to professional artists coming through that store. There was Forstall, but Forstall is a lot smaller, and so we had a lot of business coming through there. And so yeah, just being able to meet other people that are doing what you want to do to varying levels of success, and just sort of seeing what is possible. Yeah. That even if you aren't like the biggest name in the country, you can be a successful working artist and like support a family and like buy a house and stuff. Because I think a lot of people just assume you're either starving or you're rich and famous.
Yeah.
But there's
a working class middle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. And so just seeing that was helpful, and you make connections that way too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I transitioned to like the next stage in my career. Was I'd been there for 3 or 4 years and was kind of just stagnating. You know, I was still doing the dog portraits, but I was also like starting to question, and I was like, do I want to be the dog portrait guy? It's also like, it was really hard still. And like, I was good at it, but it was difficult, and it was just, they were like realistic portraits. So you're automatically like get anxious because you have a very clear finished product that you have to do, but like don't know how to get there. And so then you just start getting like anxious about it. And so I started like not wanting to go in the studio. Every time I walked into the studio, I would just like get this pit in my stomach. Ugh. it's like, why did I decide to do art? Like, I should have done chemistry or something.
Yeah.
That, was fun and also could make money doing.
Like chemistry.
Yeah, chemistry is awesome, dude. Chemistry can do everything. You can make all kinds of cool stuff.
What was it like as you like maneuvered into sculpting? Like, how did you find your niche once you started sculpting? Like, you go from dog portraits to this niche.
Yeah.
But like once you started, I kind of want you to get a little nerdy here too. It like literally, I mean, sculpting is, it's hard not to like use metaphor in this, or not to assume that what I'm saying is metaphor here. But you literally sculpted your way into like your niche. Right? And it's like, that's also funny to me as I'm thinking about it. Like, you literally sculpted presumably all human figures. Or were you like, when you say you were like finding your niche, like, did you sculpt even like other types of objects and then you're like, no, humans are my niche? Or is there like a specific type of human? Like, I think that's what I'm curious, like, because your work is actually insane. But
yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about that much. I guess I was always drawn towards like the human figure. And I don't know if that's just because a lot of like the sculptures that I got into early on were figure sculptures.
Yeah.
And it's also just kind of like, again, not being as confident in your creative abilities kind of makes you stray. Especially if you're more confident in your craft than you are in your creative abilities, then you're more drawn towards stuff that's not abstract. Like abstract art always seemed a lot more difficult to me because it was harder for me to sort of think that way than it was like, there's a person, let me just make that person here. And that was really cool. And also just like how you can get kind of nerdy with it, like all the anatomy and like that stuff applies. Everybody, for the most part, has the same anatomy, just different proportions.
Right.
And even like if you look at stuff that's really abstracted, if it's good, it still makes sense anatomically. Like, there's insertion and origin points on all of your muscles, and they have to make sense. Like, you don't have just, your muscle doesn't go from here to here, it goes from here to your arm and that kind of thing. And so just like learning the mechanics of all of it was always really interesting to me. And then I guess it just, the medium, it's kind of complicated how I got there, because plaster is not a very common finished sculpting medium.
Right.
A lot of times it's referred to as the whore of art because it is something that like most sculptors are familiar with, and it's used and abused and kind of thrown away. So like you just do your starter pieces with that, and then you use it as like a mold material, and then you throw the mold material away and then cast what's in the plaster.
Yeah.
But I just got really into plaster because it was just an interesting medium I hadn't worked with until I was in college. And then I mentioned how I got really into mold making, and a lot of molds are made out of plaster, but you can also cast plaster copies in the molds. And I got this really random job. These two painters in, I think, Fairhope or Mobile, they were doing really high relief like paintings, impasto paintings. Like they were small, but they would have like the paint would come off the canvas really far, and they wanted to start mass producing them, and it was going to be too time consuming and expensive for them to just paint each individual one. And so they reached out to me to see if I could make molds and cast like thousands of copies of them.
Whoa.
And I had worked with plaster a little bit, obviously on a much smaller scale, but they were going to pay me $1 per cast, which doesn't sound like a lot, but whenever you start, like the quantities start getting up, and like that's more money than I'd ever seen in my entire life. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do this, without really knowing what I was getting into, and just having to like work on that scale with one medium, because I was taking the molds in rubber, but I was casting it in plaster, and so this is like thousands of pounds of plaster, as opposed to like normally in college you might go through like 100 pounds of plaster. So that's how I just got really familiar and intimate with that particular material, but also just kind of developing a process. I think that's a strong suit of mine, is like finding a process and just kind of optimizing it and making it more efficient to where I can like easily reproduce the same parts that are annoying, and that way I can focus more on like the fun parts of it. Because I had to. This is off topic a little bit, but I had to get, I think it was 5,000 pounds of plaster.
Holy cow!
So I had to source that, and I got it from this depot in New York, and it was going to be like $500 to deliver it to my house. But if I had access to a loading dock, it would be free. And our sculpture department had a loading dock, and so I talked to my professors. I was like, "Hey, like, can I get it delivered here, and then I'll take it to my house?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure. Just like let us know when it's coming, so we can unload it and like be here whenever the truck comes." I get a call at like 6:30 in the morning from this truck driver, and he was like, "I'm here," and I didn't know who he was. I was like, "Who is this?"
Yeah, you're where?
He was like, "I got a bunch of bags of something," and I was like, "Oh, plaster." And he's like, "I don't know." I was like, "Okay, where are you?" And he told me. I was like, "Okay, that's the college studio."
Yeah.
So I get on my bike and I race down there. The doors are locked. Obviously, no one's there. Luckily, there's ways to get in there.
Yeah.
The keys. So I got in, and I opened the loading dock. He opens his truck, and there's just stacks of 50-pound bags. I was like, all right. So like, how do we like? I went to like cut the plastic. He was like, what are you doing? I was like, are we gonna unload him? He was like, no. Where's the forklift? I was like, oh, it's right there. Like, do you know how to drive it? He was like, no. And he was being such a dick to me. I'm like 18 years old, 19 years old, just like panicky. I'd never like been in situations like this before. And so I was like, all right, well, okay. I know the key is in the ignition. I've seen my professors drive it before. How hard can it be? And I get in there, and it's just like 2 joysticks. It's not even like a steering wheel or anything. I'm like, oh shit. So I started up. It took me like 45 minutes to unload 2 pallets. I'm like drenched in sweat. My armpits are soaked. And like I get done, and then we shared a wall with the set design program, and their professor was out there just smoking a cigarette the entire time, watching me. And afterwards, he was like, "It didn't do too bad." I was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Do you know how to drive that?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Why didn't you say?" I clearly didn't know what I was.
He was like,
doing.
"This was entertainment for me."
And then I had just bought a car because I knew I was going to have to transport this plaster. And I got a 1990 Volvo station wagon on eBay for $1,000.
Awesome.
And no air conditioning, of course. And did have heated seats, which I found out after driving it for like an hour and just be like, why is it so hot? And I show up, and at this point the professors are there, and I kind of explained what happened, and they're like, all right, well, just don't tell anybody about that. We're going to get in trouble if you say something.
Yeah.
And I pulled the station wagon around. They're like, why did you buy a station wagon? I was like, look, it's got so much space. I can easily fit all of the plaster in here. They're like, you can't
haul it.
Yeah, you can't haul 5,000 pounds of plaster in a station wagon.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever. They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
I get 6 bags in there, and it's like all the way down. All right, well, I guess this is going to be my entire day, just making trips with 6 bags at a time out of 50 bags. Funny. And eventually they were like, you can borrow our truck. And so I used the truck, and I'm still having to hand unload all this stuff. And I'm moving it into my house. And luckily, there wasn't really anything in there. My roommate and I lived a very, very Spartan setup. It was
minimalist.
Just like, furniture we found on the side of the road. We cycled in and out whenever we saw a cooler chair. We were like, all right, let's get rid of the old one. Yeah. This one's leather. And like as I'm loading it in, I noticed like the air is becoming kind of like looks misty or foggy in there, and everything just has like a layer of white on it. And it was a horrible idea. This house didn't have any kind of ventilation, and there were just 50 pounds or 50 bags, 50-pound bags of plaster in this house just stacked up everywhere. And I started trying to do the plaster work there, like the casting, but I also didn't have access to water in my studio. So I knocked out the window and like pulled a hose through that connected outside. I was mixing the plaster in there, dust getting everywhere. So I had like a respirator on, and it's super hot. So I'm like in a bathing suit with a respirator on, mixing plaster, and I have to go outside to like get rid of the debris. And we didn't live in a great part of town. I was the only like college kid in that neighborhood. And I'm sure the optics were
very
not great.
breaking bad looking.
Some guy in a respirator in like a little bathing suit, just like covered in sweat and white stuff, just like
That's
dumping buckets
so
outside.
Funny.
So after like a week of doing that, I emailed them. I was like, I can't do this out of my house. And so they like gave me a budget, and I went and found a warehouse that was in really bad shape, but it wasn't my house, so I could
Yeah.
get it messy. Then like I had worked with plaster, but not on that scale, so the moisture from it, because as it cures, it releases moisture and heat, and I had stacks and stacks of these pieces already done, ready to ship. And then I came in there the next day and there was just mold and mildew all over.
No.
And I have no idea what's going on. I'm like, what? Like, just there were so many problems that would happen, and then you have to like figure out what's going on and then how to fix it. And that really like helped inform what I do now, as far as like my process is so streamlined.
Yeah.
Because of like having to deal with all those issues when I was doing that really weird odd job for 3 months. That all just kind of applied to what I do now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be working with plaster. It's like a really weird. I don't know any artists that work only with plaster.
Did you get it done?
Yeah, I got done and then got burned again, because this was one of those situations, and this happens, I think, with a lot of people starting out, where you get promised a lot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're going to make so much money doing this. Like, we're going to do like hundreds of thousands of these. Like, this is going to be your job. Like,
Yeah.
all this stuff. And I did, I think, 12,000, and I think they overestimated how many they were going to sell.
Yeah.
And they did not sell 12,000. So like all the other orders got canceled after I'd like finally got the process set up. But I mean, it was a great learning experience, and it was a really unique experience that definitely had a big, at the time I was kind of pissed, but it was really cool to make that much money doing something.
Yeah.
Like actually art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With the
exactly.
actual-
Yeah, I mean, and like I didn't have to I didn't have to work that summer. Like,
Right.
I didn't have to go back to the grocery store, and I got to make my own hours. But
That's cool. How do you what?
I'm just like, your buddy's like, so what'd you do this summer? And you're like, I don't even know
No.
how to explain to you.
I hired my roommate about it. Like all my other friends, I had like a variety of. I had some friends that were like pretty well off, so they were like studying abroad, and I had other friends that were like me and had to work, and they would like tell me how like shitty their work day was. I was like, I woke up, made some waffles, and I went and like poured plaster for a couple hours, and I went to the beach and drank beer. And it was a pretty good day. And they're like, fuck you, man.
That's so
Dude,
funny.
I also am curious too, like if we can do like a brief like little Charleston moment. Like Charleston's obviously like a really trendy city right now, but you were there like at least pre-2014 in our AGS
I was there
game.
at a really cool time.
Like, what was Charleston like?
Whatever
while you were
that
there?
time frame was.
You said drinking a beer on the beach made me think about that.
Yeah, that got banned while I was there. And
Okay.
the story, it was on 4th of July. I wasn't there. This is the story I heard. This is before like everybody was filming everything. So I don't know if there's any proof that this is what actually happened. But some of my friends, we were having a party at my house on 4th of July, and they came by later in the night. They had been at Folly Beach. Apparently, Tito's vodka, which was also fairly new at the time, or like maybe not new, but was becoming more
Yeah.
Like
mainstream.
market thing. Yeah.
And they were out there and they were giving out vodka. Kind of like, this is also when the Red Bull girls would go
Yeah,
around,
with the
like,
Mini Coopers.
So like the beach had like the Tito's station and like the Red Bull girls and stuff, and they weren't checking IDs apparently, and the whole beach just started getting really unruly. And
Yikes.
some cops, I think it was just one cop, tried to like come and get everybody to settle down, and the crowd was not having it. And apparently he got surrounded, and everybody was chanting USA, USA, and like took him down, and like his arm got broken, and there was like this whole
Dang.
fiasco. And so like the city like voted like no alcohol on the beach anymore. But I mean, going to the beach was like the main thing to do. There was 3 beaches within 15 minutes of campus, basically. It took me a whole semester to realize I wasn't on a field trip. It just, you are in class and you look out and there's palm trees. And
That's
stuff.
crazy.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was awesome, and it was still like pretty affordable in some places.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, parts of it reminded me of Avondale. Like it wasn't fully gentrified yet, so there was like a lot of like, if you knew where to go, there was cool cheap stuff, and like a lot of people that were kind of starting, they were like, it was possible to like start something out of college, like not on a shoestring budget and like make it successful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also like when I learned what gentrification was, and I remember thinking like, man, that sucks. And then I was like reading about how it starts, and it literally is like
just Charleston.
Like there's like lower income college students and artists like living in like, lower. I was like,
and then they make cool
I'm like
things.
looking around where I'm living. I'm like, because I was like, why are all these like this place is getting more expensive. There's all these like Mercedes parked, like all these guys in suits and stuff. Like, this is bullshit. I'm like, what is causing this? It's like,
that's hilarious.
Describes me to a T.
Yeah. What am I doing? What's wrong? Yeah. That's hilarious.
But I mean, I've been back and it's cool. It'll never be the same, obviously. I think just because the time, I don't know if it's even, I mean, it's obviously a different city now, but I'm in a different place in my life. Like, it's never going to be the same as when you're 20 years old.
Totally.
Like, you're just in a completely different headspace.
Yeah.
You're not jaded by life and everything.
Yeah.
Everything's still awesome and fun.
How do you, this is changing gears a little bit, but, you know, if you're making art and you have to make money, I feel like there's this weird balance you have to strike with, you have to make art so that you can make money, but typically people make art when they're inspired. So how do you kind of balance using inspiration to create art and also using discipline to create art?
Might not be the best person to...
Every artist is going to have to balance that, and you might swing one way further than the other.
Like,
but
what is your relationship with discipline just in general?
Not great. I think I think like the just common words of wisdom when it comes to like self-employment, that like the key is to make it like a regular job, have some structure and routine. But that also implies that you are your own boss, and I run a very loose ship as the boss, and all my employees are lazy, mutinous sailors that they just want to hang out and like play video games and stuff. And so like getting them to work is really difficult, and it's not until they're starving where it's like, all right, then they start listening to me, and then they just kind of don't care anymore. And so that's just been sort of undermining.
And by they you mean yourself?
Yeah, exactly. It's so easy. Like I'm a really great worker.
Yeah.
And that was great when you're in school. That's like awesome. You are really good at getting good grades. Mm-hmm. But then when there's no one telling you what to do and it's just you, and it's like, well, I don't actually want to do anything.
Yeah.
I just want to like hang out with my friends and like have some beer or something. Like do hard things. But I think just making yourself do it, that's the hardest part. But a lot of times once you start, it's way easier. And then that's like a pretty common piece of advice too, but it is accurate. And I think I get inspired while I'm doing stuff, I guess, but I don't have like traditional sources of inspiration. Like there's obviously some artists that I really like. But more than that, it's
like
just
Michelangelo.
Like, yeah. Well, I do like Michelangelo. He's good. Really,
the only sculptor I know.
He had some trouble sculpting female bodies, but I have some pictures I can show you of that to give you an example.
Yeah.
I feel like he was inspired by bags of beans. The anatomy was just weird sometimes, but actually, there's some sculptors I like. There's a lot of like painters that I'm really. Egon Schiele is probably like my biggest source of artistic inspiration, and he just was a painter, but just really cool, like awkward, angsty forms and positions and stuff. But I think I'm more inspired by just, I don't even know, it's so vague, just like physical attributes of materials, if that makes sense. So I guess a good lead is probably the best example I can think of. And that's my favorite metal, if that's a thing, to have a favorite metal. I love lead. It's so cool, everything about it. And
I like aluminium.
Aluminium.
That's one of my least favorite, honestly.
Really? Okay.
And I'll tell you why, but I'll start with lead. Lead is really cool because, one, it's heavy. It's got weight to it. I don't know what it is. Something about weight is satisfying to me. Like all of my sculptures, I try and make them as heavy as possible. I used to like get kind of my professors would get kind of like upset with me sometimes because I would make my stuff really big and heavy to where it's just really unwieldy, hard to move around. But that was like part of it for me. It was just something monumental about making something super heavy.
Feels substantial.
Yeah, exactly. There's something nice about it. Lead is also cool because of the surfaces that it can develop. When you melt it down, it looks like mercury. It's like super shiny, quicksilver look. And then as it cools, it kind of dulls down a little bit and doesn't look as cool. But once it's been exposed to the elements, it'll kind of get this like dull greenish gray slick surface that has like a velvety white texture that kind of like overlaps it and gets into the crevices. And it's just a really interesting, I don't know, it's really satisfying to look at. Aluminum, on the other hand, it's pretty lame. So lead is also very flexible too. It's soft and you can manipulate it with like a knife.
Yeah.
Aluminum, crystalline structure, really weak, gross color. It's just dull gray all the time. You can't really put a patina on it except for black. Super lightweight, also lame. I hate aluminum.
I like it for cars. Yeah. That's my context for using aluminum.
I don't like it for cars either. Steel.
Yeah.
And I like brass and copper. Copper's really cool for a lot of the same reasons as lead. It's heavy, a lot of variations with patina. I mean, just think about pennies.
Yeah.
How many different looking pennies you've found over the years, like from bright and shiny to like dull and brown to green and blue. So those kinds of things are really inspiring to me, just like those specific physical attributes. And that's why the finishes I do are what keep me sort of in the game as far as my head goes. Like they keep it interesting to me because there's novelty there. It's also difficult, but it is achievable. And I think just the main dilemma with it is how easy it is to do poorly. It's a very fine line. It's either like if you can tell that it's like done by hand, then it's not good. Like
interesting.
In my opinion, like it just it looks like shit. Like it has to be realistic, and to be realistic, you don't notice it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And they're all like natural processes, and so some of them you can do the same way and just accelerate it, but some of them you have to replicate with different chemicals or like. That's what's fun to me is like there's not written ways how to do a lot of it. It is just kind of experimenting, and I think that's what I like the most is not knowing what's going to happen and just kind of like sometimes I have a goal for what I'm trying to do. Sometimes I'm just literally just dumping chemicals on stuff and just seeing what happens.
Yeah.
And then I've found success in both ways and lots of failures. I've ruined a lot of things doing that.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
So right now, do you have art in like galleries, or where can people go and find your art somewhere?
Most of my art is on my website, and in my studio. I sent some stuff to Atlanta recently, and then I sent some stuff off yesterday to Kansas City for a show. I've had mixed experiences with galleries, so I'm still like overly standoffish with them. I think just because like my very first experience didn't really go well. Yeah, like I didn't really like what I was doing, and I got taken advantage of, and so I was just like, And I mean, the whole business practice I'm not going to get too into because I still want to get into galleries. So. I've had a lot.
There are people who do it well.
Yeah,
you just haven't found very many of them yet.
Do it well. It's inherently like a kind of a complicated business structure where the way the money is split up. But I think, and especially just with how things have changed and how art is marketed, it's much easier for the individual to market their art successfully. You don't have to rely on a third party. I do have much more success with places like showrooms that are not geared solely on art. They're selling furniture and decorations and stuff.
Gotcha.
I think it makes it a lot easier to sell art in those.
Yeah, especially too because you can kind of contextualize it a little bit 100%, more.
100%. Yeah, and a gallery is just on a wall, and like most people, unless they're in the design field, aren't going to be able to visualize that in their house. But if they see a really well staged room and the art is in there, like, oh, if I get that art, my house will look like this kind of thing.
Totally.
So yeah, I've worked with a couple around town. I've had stuff in Maison and Circa, and those were both great places. But I think, I don't have anything long term anywhere. I just kind of move it around, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much everything I've got right now is on my website, and I just try and like produce pieces as regularly as I can. Try and like set a schedule so that I'm working, because I have this bad habit again, running a loose ship. It's really easy for me. I get really interested in random things and then just go down a rabbit hole and forget about every other aspect of my life. And my fiance has to remind me that I'm not retired and I still have to like make money, which sucks, but it is true. And so I try and like work to where I'm producing like a certain quota every month, and that just kind of keeps me in the studio and focused on it, because it's really easy to not do that. And like you're obviously not going to make anything if you're not in the studio producing. So even if you just go in there and know you have to do this, then sometimes you'll start doing something like, oh, well, I wonder what this would look like. And you start doing something random and then it ends up being awesome. Yeah. And that's really the only way I've been able to do that. I can't just be like doing something else and then have a random stroke of creativity. And then I'm not going to do it even if I get the inspiration while I'm not in the studio.
Right.
Yeah. So your clientele, are they like all over the place, or is it a lot of local people, or who's like interacting with your stuff?
According to Instagram and my website, it's mainly New York,
really,
LA, Houston, and Birmingham are where most of the sales go. And then there's just like kind of other random areas in the U.S. Some stuff overseas. I don't know how those people find me or like why they're buying my stuff, but it's cool.
Thank you.
It took me a while to like figure out the website on like how I could do shipping, because I sold one and there was this lady in Australia and I had just like a flat shipping rate. And like I packaged it up and like took it to FedEx, and the shipping cost more than the sculpture itself. And
Holy cow!
She'd already paid, and I thought it'd be tacky if I like emailed her and was like, "Hey, actually, you owe me $400."
Right.
But that was a learning experience, and so now I've got it sectioned out to where I'm not like losing insane amounts of money when I ship abroad. But I mean, obviously, most in-person ones are Birmingham or like Alabama. Area. But I've got collectors, or just people that buy multiple pieces or that have been buying my stuff for a long time in a lot of different places.
That's so cool.
I think that's another thing like that you wouldn't probably get in a gallery scenario that you will with social media.
Yeah.
I mean, hate it or love it, it is like a game changer when it comes to marketing yourself for free. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. Before I even knew how to use all of that stuff, I mean, it was purely word of mouth, and that only gets you so far.
Right.
That's been huge.
I want to know about your fiance. Like, where did you meet her, and then what is you're getting married? Congrats!
Congratulations!
Huge deal. We're big fans of marriage as two married men, and also like, where'd you meet, and then what does she think about your art and what you do?
We met, I guess, 3-4 years ago, 2021. We got together in like 2022. I used to work with William Mclean right down the street from here, and we hired her as like a studio assistant. She was really overqualified for it. She's an interior designer, and she was working at a design firm in San Francisco.
Holy cow!
And moved to Tuscaloosa during the pandemic. She's from Montgomery.
Okay.
But we met there. She worked there for a couple months, and then she was working at Maison, and now she's working with MAP. But I think she likes my art. I'm just kidding. She does. I mean, she's been really a big help. She's a little younger and like had more experience with social media and stuff, so she's been a huge help there, and just sort of like taught herself photography. I got like just a cheap DSLR, I think like a Canon Rebel or something, and just taught herself how to use that, and she helped me kind of curate my social media presence and also do product photography, and just kind of really helped shape up what I was doing, because I made it more professional and like branded. Because before I was just kind of like doing a piece of art and like snapping a picture.
I was gonna say, I feel like your Instagram has like a feel and a voice. It's really cool.
No, and it's not completely manufactured either. Like it fits with my vibe and style, and she was just able to kind of like pick up on that and then just refine it into something digestible like that.
Yeah.
And so that's been really helpful. And I'm starting to, her job has a lot more responsibilities than it did before when she was doing that stuff. And so I'm learning how to do some of that stuff now, like the product photography and just the social media posts. But yeah, I mean, those are, especially the social media side is so important, but it is, I just don't understand a lot of it. Like what, I feel like it's just constantly changing, like
Totally.
what the algorithm wants and stuff. So I don't know if you're supposed to like post a bunch of stuff or just a little bit of stuff or like videos or pictures. Or
I've heard that it helps if you go on podcasts and then make videos about it. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's real.
I was joking with you earlier, like last night. Bree, my fiance, was like started panicking. She was like, "Is your interview thing tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Are you ready?" I was like, "What do you mean?" I thought I was. She was like giving me media training. She was like, "Make sure you say that it's a pleasure to be on the podcast."
No, it's okay. You can hate it if you want.
Yeah, I was like, then I wasn't nervous until she
until she made it more serious.
Like, it's 11 o'clock at night. I don't want to talk about this right
now. That's hilarious.
But no, I mean, she's definitely more like strategy oriented, and that's been extremely helpful for me because the more I do this, the more I don't know what I'm doing. I think like this early on, I thought I had it all figured out and like exactly what I need to do, and like I've come to realize that none of that stuff is important. Like it's the stuff that I didn't even think about that is important, and the landscape is just constantly changing. Like, and that's another reason there's no handbook. There's no handbook because there's no set way to do it to become like successful in the creative field. And then the ways that worked for somebody 10 years ago, they're not even like applicable now. Like it's not even like they won't work. It's like you can't even do that because that stuff doesn't even exist. And so things are just constantly changing, and I haven't been able to keep up. And like I catch on like 2 years late. So it's been helpful having someone that's got like their finger on the pulse a little better than I do, and that is very creative, like in areas that I'm lacking, and just sort of has like more vision than I do. So yeah, that's been extremely helpful having her around.
Do you have like a dream of where you're at in 10 or 20 years, like down the line, something that you wish would happen? Unrealistic dream?
Yeah, then we definitely differ on this, Bria and I. I would love to buy a trailer park, have like 3 trailers that I can do different things in, and then have like 7 to 10 like old cars from the 80s that I'm trying to fix. Yeah. Just all out in the lawn. Yep. I think she wants to get like a nice house with a regular yard that's like kept up with. Yeah. And some kids. I think kids are in both the scenarios.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yours is just a little bit more eccentric.
Yeah. No, like over the summer we moved in June. Yeah, in June. We're actually very close. And it's a very old house, but we moved in, and I had to replace the head gasket and also the intake manifold on my truck in the middle of the summer.
Brutal.
And it's really hot, and I'm like cutting off the sleeves on my shirt and like have like grease all over me, and she would come home from work, she was like, I don't like the path that you're going down right now. Because I'm like, I need to make money. I'm just going to work on my truck all summer. And she's like, I think, don't we want to get like a house in like a neighborhood? Yeah. But yeah, the more I do that kind of stuff, the more I think I'm built for the trailer park lifestyle. Not regular, like king of a trailer park.
Right. You want the double wide, not the single wide.
Multiple double wides. I want like a studio one, a lab, a shop. I think it would be cool.
That's hilarious. Take me through at least 6 of the 10 cars that you want.
I'd probably get another Jeep Comanche. That's in better shape
2 Jeep Comanches.
Yeah. Is that your truck?
Yeah, that's my truck.
Yeah, we'll go look at it afterwards. It's so sick. And you should get one.
Yeah, Jeep Comanche. They're pretty sick. I would recommend not the year that I got. The Renix ones are everything's like controlled by vacuum lines, and the electronics make no sense at all.
Yikes.
I think I would also get a 99 Cherokee.
Yep.
It looks very similar, but the internals are much better. Probably an 88 Monte Carlo.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really sick.
Fire.
When some sort of Land Cruiser. I'm not as familiar with like the models on those, but the old ones look really cool.
Yeah. Like a 60 series probably.
Yeah, the ones where like
80s.
you sit in the back and you're facing each other.
Yeah.
One of those, maybe a Samurai.
Yeah. Samurai would be sick.
And then I probably would just like to go browse.
Yep.
And just pick out stuff that looks cool.
Yep.
Really just mainly big, inefficient cars with hard lines.
Yep.
I think is my
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think that would just be really cool.
Yeah.
It'd be a fun time.
I found a guy on the internet the other day who had an old G-Wagon and an old Land Rover Defender, and I sent it to one of my buddies, and I was like, I always think about it's either G-Wagon or Defender. I've never thought about both. Because it's like as soon as the Defender breaks, you just start driving the G-Wagon until the Defender's back on the road, and then the Defender will break again, but you can keep driving the G, and then the G-Wagon will break, and then you'll fix the Defender.
All the time.
Yeah.
I think the older ones are actually a little more reliable.
Yeah.
At least the Land Rovers were.
Yeah.
But
That's sick.
No, I think that'd be. I don't want anything too reliable because it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
I've never had a car that like wasn't always like at risk of breaking at any given moment. That station wagon I had, $1,000. So like it was.
Yeah.
It had the odometer was frozen at like 280,000 on there, and then the gas meter was broken, so I had to like keep track on my phone. I had the GPS, and so I could keep track of how many miles I had driven, and then I knew about what the MPG was on it, and so I knew when I had to stop and get more gas.
That's hilarious.
The windshield wiper manual, you had to use your hand outside to do it. It didn't come that way. That's just how it was when I got it.
Right.
And
yeah, not from the factory.
This starter went out like almost immediately, and I didn't know much about cars at this time in my life, and I also didn't have like money to like take it to a shop. But I did figure out, someone told me there was a starter, and they were like, if you just stick a piece of metal, like a screwdriver in there, it'll start.
Yeah.
As like just to get to the shop. Well, I just started doing that all the time. Like for like 3 months, I just had a screwdriver. When I went to start my truck or my station wagon, I would get out, open the hood, and like just kind of jam it in the right spot. Sparks would fly out, and the thing would just roar to life. Every single time I had to drive that car.
That's hilarious.
And I remember like I had it in an alley next to the art store in Charleston, and there was a guy outside on his break, one of the employees, and he watched me like do the whole routine. He was like, "Do you have to do that every time?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's badass, dude." Thanks.
Yeah, it is. It sure is.
And then I found out, I don't know how I figured this out, but if I charged up the battery, and I still don't understand how this worked, but if I charged up the battery fully, I could start it with a key 3 times.
Okay.
Before I had to use the screwdriver again.
Yeah, I don't know enough to say why.
It does not make sense at all. It also doesn't make sense that I was able to do this for like 5 months.
Yeah.
I've had it happen on my truck where the starter went out, and I got like 3 screwdriver starts. But
it's because it's a Volvo and they're just indestructible. It's just like, okay, fine, we'll just do it this way now.
Jump on the hood of that thing and it wouldn't even dent.
Yeah.
But I needed to sell it, and all the dummy lights were on all the time. So I pulled.
They don't mean anything. They're just lights.
Especially when they're not lit. I pulled the fuse for the dummy lights so that none of them came on anymore. Charged up the battery, and then I listed it on Craigslist for the same amount that I had listed it for $1,000, which is how much I had paid for it a year earlier. And then this guy came and like he started it once, like test drive it, and he brought it back, turned it off. He's like, "Can I try it again?" I was like, "Yeah." And, like, I'm starting to sweat a little bit because I knew he only had 2 more starts.
Yeah.
And then he like negotiated with me and like worked me down to 700, and like he was like smiling, like he got me. I was like, "Oh, you got me, man." And then he like started it the 3rd time and like drove away. I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Wow, man!" It was at my house though, so he knows where. He came back the next day. He was like, "Yo, do you know anything about the starter?" And I was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "It doesn't work." And I was like, "What? I don't even know what you're talking." He's like, "Yeah, I took it to the mechanic, and they said it looked like someone had been banging on it with a hammer for like 6 months. I was like, that's so weird. I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's hilarious.
But that was the beauty of Craigslist. You could just do that kind of stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I used to buy bikes at Goodwill that were broken. Not even really broken. They just needed air in the tires a lot of times.
Yeah.
For $20. Flip them on Craigslist for like $150.
Yeah.
And people would come in. Everybody's always trying to like cut a deal. And they're like,
Right.
oh, I had it listed for $150. Like, oh, I only got $120. Will you take it? I'm like,
Yeah.
I guess.
Sure,
I guess.
fine,
Like
whatever.
10 minutes working on
Yeah.
it. But
That's
Craigslist
hilarious.
used to be awesome.
Man, I love the scrappiness. I love those stories.
I don't even know how I got so into Craigslist. I think I just needed something one time and went on there and I was like, you can find anything on here.
Yeah.
I bought a squat rack on there from a high school in Charleston, and like the coach came to deliver it to my apartment, and it was like not one you could take apart. It was fully welded power rack. It obviously wouldn't fit up the stairs and in the door to my second story apartment. So I got a hacksaw from the pawn shop, cut it in half, which took forever. Like hand sawed it in half, carried it up in 2 pieces, and then drilled holes in it and like mounted, like bolted brackets on there.
Yeah.
Like my downstairs neighbors, I saw them the next day. I'm like, what were you doing up there last night? Like, we just heard like banging and drill sounds all night. I bought a lathe on Craigslist. I mean, you can get, not now, you can get other stuff on there now. Not stuff that most people want, but.
Yeah. I've been on my Facebook Marketplace grind, especially the last 9 months.
Craigslist.
Yeah, because it's the new Craigslist.
Not as much edge to it. But.
No. It's a little bit safer, but we bought a house last summer, and so we've just been trying to find stuff for our house because like we just have a laundry list of things that we need if it's furniture or like a weed eater or a blower or anything. And there's been a couple of times where I found a chair and couch combo, and they were cool, chair and couch, and then we found a better couch that we liked more, and so I bought the chair and couch for like $250, and then I'll just list it for like $450, and then people just come buy it, and I'm like, I didn't do anything. I think we actually did like wash those, so we did something, but basically nothing to them, and then made $200. And I just think it's like it feels like an infinite money hack.
I know.
It feels like you're playing a video game. It's like I just bought this thing, and then I just asked for more money for it, and someone else bought it from me.
I think that's like how I got into it. I was like trying to figure out how to make money when I was in college. So I was just always trying to like figure out how to make some extra cash on the side. And there was someone talking about how they got on Craigslist and they just drove around all day picking stuff up, listing it, reselling it, and just starting out with like $20 and you can end the day with like 200. And like when you're in college, that seems very viable. Like as an adult, that is.
I was gonna say, I now like am an adult and have a job that is like stable, and I have consistent income, and my wife's about to start working, so we're about to have 2 incomes. But we were on a walk yesterday through Avondale, and there was just like this pile of furniture outside of someone's house, and I was like, Claire, I have to go. Like, I need to go get my truck and get this chair, and she was like, it smells like pee. It's probably been outside for like a week, and I was like, yeah, but it's free, and I could sell it for like $50, and she was like, we don't need $50 that bad. We don't need it that bad. So I didn't do it that time.
Charleston was great. I think probably most college towns are great for that kind of stuff because people are moving constantly. And they're not always taking everything. So, I mean, I never bought furniture all through college. It was just, you see something on the side of the street, you call your roommate up and be like, do you want a leather couch?
Right.
Like, yeah, ours is getting kind of gross. We should probably get a new one. Like,
time to upgrade.
I'm not going to clean it.
No, yeah.
And then you just we had, especially in the last house I lived in the sketchier area, the house in front of us burned down, and so there was just an empty lot, and we could just do whatever we wanted in that empty lot. So we would just a lot of times just like shoot bottles with a pellet gun or like blow up spray paint cans. But we would also like take furniture, whenever we found a replacement, we'd take the old stuff out there and just get axes and machetes and just chop it up, beat the shit out of it, call your friends over. Everybody likes breaking stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like everybody thinks
you did the rage room thing before it was like a monetizable business.
We called it the break room because it was like fenced in.
Yeah.
And there was just like broken appliances, like just heaps of stuff that you could just smash with baseball bats.
That's so funny.
And you tell people that and they're always like, that's kind of weird. Like, why are you doing that? Like, just try it.
Yeah, just come over. You'll see.
It never gets old. And yeah, so people would come over and we would just break stuff,
That's so funny.
furniture and microwaves, old laptops.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff never gets old. I think it is like the novelty of it. You don't know what's going to happen when you hit something with a baseball bat.
Yeah. What's it going to look like after
exactly.
this?
You have an idea of like something could just fly out the side.
Yeah.
It could blow up.
Yeah. That's so funny. Well, anyways, Kevin, this was awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
It's amazing to hear the story of someone who has gone from a Craigslist aficionado to a fine sculptor. I mean, that's pretty insane. It feels very like, I'm definitely not like a classics major or anything like that, but I feel like I'm pretty well read on ancient artists, and it kind of rings. It has like the same sort of vibe as like reading about even like somebody super old and like
The
crazy.
spirit of Michelangelo lives on in you.
Like it's got like an Edgar Allan Poe vibe that you were just like, let's screw over as many people as possible. That's all. Like also my favorite artist bought a cast iron building in
Donald Judd.
Soho, New York. But they had announced they were going to build an expressway exactly where the building was, and then he bought it. Nice. So he knew it was going to get demoed, and he wasn't going to get any money for it. But it was just, I think, the spirit of like, I'm going to buy this because I can. It was a 5-story tall building. And then also this slight hope of like, there's no way they actually built an expressway. So like the distrust in the system. Yeah. And then literally that building, Nike just bought the building right beside it like 6 years ago for like, I don't know, something crazy, like $150 million. And he bought it for like $45,000 in the 60s or something like that. And but just like that spirit of the artist, I feel like you kind of have to get a little bit scrappy and modern, especially modern day, man.
I think it's fun too. Like I had a lot of artist friends back then too, and we would everybody's kind of like on the same page about how life is going and like what doing art. Like I think in your individual groups of like, this is what it's going to be like, because we all did stuff that we didn't like. And we're like, no one can see this. So we would just burn all of it. Like I look back on that now, I'm like, because every once in a while I'll find a piece I did a long time ago that I didn't like, and now I'm looking, I'm like, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, how many pieces did I just...
They were literally on
Set
fire.
on fire.
Like, light on fire.
Yeah.
Destroy for no reason other than I didn't want anybody to see it at that given moment.
Wait,
Yeah.
that's
But
actually
it is
maybe the weight of time would
incredibly
bring out the
metaphorical.
beauty in it.
Yeah, exactly.
How many things have you loved that
I
have
still
you
do
burned?
it too. I still do it. It's still fun to blow stuff up.
All right, so how old are you?
34.
Wow.
Ding, 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 ding. Thanks for remembering. That's hilarious. I wasn't going to remember.
I think it's 34.
We should have made him work for it more.
I was going to say, we
give him,
should,
or something.
it might be fun if like every year has to look at his license
what's
to
your-
figure out how
oh,
old
Well,
he
it's
is.
weird because it's at the
What's
end
your
of the
gold
year, so
Amex? What's your gold Amex number?
We should do something every episode that like keeps people tied in so they have to wait and figure out the answer to a stupid question.
Yeah. Let's wrap and then I have actually a podcast thing. But,
All right.
Hey guys, thanks you so much for tuning in.
Check out Kevin Mclean on
Yes.
social media,
Plug yourself.
website.
It's my name.
Yep. We'll tag it on the
Yeah, it'll be in the
everything that you're
description and
listening to
stuff
on.
like that.
And also, do you have any shows or is there any like actual events that you want to plug?
Nothing around here, no.
Okay, nothing around here. But if you find yourself in Kansas City
Or Atlanta.
in Atlanta.
Go to these galleries, these two right here.
Oh, all right. Hey, cheers. Thank you so much for listening. And I kind of just said it.
Yep.
As they say in the furniture business,
Chairs.
The